Welcome to Sleepy Science. Here is something no one tells you before sleep. Your body is not solid. The bed is not solid. The room is not solid. Everything you feel is made of atoms that are almost entirely empty, and they never truly touch. Inside you are atoms that were once inside stars. They survived explosions. They crossed time. Now they are pretending to be you. Atoms do not care if you are awake or asleep. They keep moving. They keep following rules older than Earth itself. Tonight, we are not learning science. We are slipping into the quiet truth of atoms, the facts that make the world feel unreal. Stay with me. And if you want more stories like this, subscribe to Sleepy Science. You are sitting still right now. You feel the surface under you. You trust it without thinking. It feels solid, reliable, certain. This feeling has always been there. Since childhood. Since the first time you touched the ground and did not fall through it. Your mind learned a rule. Solid things stop you. You never questioned it. Why would you? The world has always held your weight. Your hand rests somewhere. Maybe on fabric. Maybe on skin. You feel pressure. You feel contact. You feel proof. This must be real. The floor does not give way. The walls do not bend. The air stays apart from your body. Everything seems to know its place. This certainty feels calm, safe, predictable, but something about it is quietly wrong, not loudly wrong, not enough to panic, just enough to unsettle. Because the feeling you trust most is the one that lies the best. Touch feels simple, you press. Something presses back. Your mind calls it contact, but what if nothing is meeting at all? Right now, your hand does not touch what it rests on, not in the way you imagine, not in the way you were taught to picture it. There is a space there, always. It is small, too small to notice, but it never disappears. Your skin stops moving forward, not because it hits something solid, but because something pushes back without ever meeting it. Your body obeys a rule it cannot feel. The world feels firm, yet nothing locks together. You have lived your whole life inside this trick, and it has worked perfectly. Every step you took relied on it. Every object you picked up. Every time you leaned without falling. You trusted the feeling, not the truth. The strange part is how normal this feels, how natural it seems. You were never meant to notice the gap. Your senses report pressure, resistance, balance. They do not report distance. They cannot tell you how close is close enough to stop you. That detail stays hidden. And because it stays hidden, the world feels simple. But simplicity is not accuracy. Right now, trillions of tiny rules are playing out under your skin. They decide how close is allowed. They decide when movement must stop. They decide what feels solid and what does not. You never hear them. You never see them. Yet you obey them perfectly. Your entire body has learned to trust a feeling that was designed to protect you, not to explain anything. This is why the illusion works so well. The chair feels firm. The ground feels stable. The walls feel unmoving. Your mind relaxes because it believes the story it is told. Solid means safe, but deep down something is missing from that story. There is no moment where one thing truly meets another. Only limits. Only invisible lines that cannot be crossed. And once you notice that, even slightly, the feeling of certainty begins to thin, not vanish, just soften. The world does not fall apart. It simply becomes less confident. You might notice how light everything feels. Not in weight, but in meaning. The room still stands. The ground still holds you. Yet the reason why feels less obvious. Your senses do not panic. They continue doing their job. But your attention lingers. You realize you have never actually felt a thing itself. Only its response. Pressure without contact. Resistance without meeting. It has always been this way. Nothing changed. Except your awareness. And awareness has a strange effect. It loosens the grip of certainty. The world feels just a little less solid than it did before. That does not make it unsafe. It makes it quiet. Because the loud confidence of reality fades when you stop assuming it must behave the way it feels. You do not need an answer yet. You do not need an explanation. All you need is the unease. The gentle question that stays without words. If nothing truly touches, what is holding everything in place? Do not try to solve it. Not now. Let the question sit. The mind does not need to chase it. It is enough to feel the shift. The sense that the world you trust is built on something unseen, something precise, something strict, something you have never felt directly. Your body continues resting. Your breath stays slow. The floor does its job. But the certainty you once held has changed shape. It is no longer loud. It no longer demands attention. It simply waits. And as you stay here, supported by something that never truly meets you, the world grows quieter. Not because it has less motion, but because the story you told yourself about solidity has softened. And in that soft space, your thoughts begin to slow. The idea stays with you. It does not shout. It does not explain itself. It simply waits in the back of your mind. Nothing touches. At first, the mind pushes back. Of course, things touch. You can feel it. You can prove it by pressing harder, but pressing harder changes nothing. The feeling increases. The distance remains. Your hand moves closer, closer still. Then it stops, not because it meets something solid, but because it is not allowed to go any further. That limit is everywhere. The air stops you from falling through the floor. The floor stops you from sinking into the ground. Your body stops itself from passing through the chair, all for the same quiet reason. There is a line that cannot be crossed. You never see this line. You never feel it directly. You only feel the rule it enforces. This is what you call contact, but contact is not a meeting. It is a refusal. Two things approach each other. They get close, closer than you can imagine. Then something says no, not loudly, not with force you can see, just enough to stop motion. Your skin does not press against a surface. It pauses near it. That pause is mistaken for touch. Every surface you trust depends on this mistake. When you walk, your foot does not strike the ground. It is pushed away at the right moment. When you sit, your weight is not held by wood or fabric. It is held by distance. This distance is very small, so small that your senses cannot separate it from contact. And so the mind fills in the gap. The mind says this is solid, this is reliable, this is real. But reality is doing something quieter. It is negotiating. Every moment is an agreement. Your body agrees to stop here. The surface agrees to push back there. Neither touches. Both obey. You never signed this agreement. You were born into it. The rules were already in place. They do not care who you are. They do not change for comfort. They do not explain themselves. They simply act. The strange part is how consistent they are. Every object follows the same limit. Every surface obeys the same refusal. A wall, a pillow, a drop of water, all behave as if they are solid. All rely on the same invisible rule. Once you notice this, the world feels less like a structure. It feels more like a pattern that repeats. Patterns do not need to be heavy. They only need to be reliable. And reliability is what you feel as solidity. You trust the rule because it has never failed you. But trust is not the same as truth. The truth is smaller, quieter. Nothing in the room is touching anything else. Not the table legs on the floor. Not the walls holding the ceiling. Not even the air pressing on your skin. There is always a thin space. That space is everywhere. It holds the room together. It holds your body upright. It holds the world in its shape. Without it, there would be no surfaces, no edges, no places to rest. And yet, you never notice it. You were never meant to. If you could feel that distance, nothing would seem stable. Your mind would never relax, so the senses simplify. They turn distance into pressure. They turn rules into feelings. They protect you from the details. Now that the detail has slipped through, the world feels slightly unreal, not broken, just thinner, like a picture seen through glass. You can still trust it. You can still move through it. But you are aware that what you feel is not what is happening. Reality is not built from touching pieces. It is built from balance, push and push back, approach and refusal. Every moment is held in place by this quiet exchange. Even your own body follows it. Your bones do not press into your muscles. Your cells do not collapse into each other. Everything keeps its distance. Your body is a careful arrangement of space, and it has always been that way. The idea settles slowly. You do not need to fear it. It does not change how the world behaves. It only changes how you understand it. The room still supports you. The floor still holds. But now you know why without knowing how. It is not touch. It is not contact. It is agreement. An agreement older than memory, stronger than intention. As this thought rests with you, the need to grip the world fades. You do not need to press down to feel safe. The rule is already there, holding everything apart, holding everything together. And as your body stays still, supported by a distance you never feel, the world becomes quieter again. Deep inside every atom lies a hidden world. You cannot see it. You cannot touch it. You cannot imagine it fully. And yet, it is there. At the very center is something small, so small that it takes 1,000,000 of them to fit across a single human hair. Yet it holds almost all the weight of the atom. This is the nucleus. It is not gentle. It is not calm. It is crowded. Inside, protons push against each other. They repel as if each one wants its own space, but they cannot leave. Neutrons sit alongside them, silent, heavier, holding things together. The nucleus is trapped. It does not move freely. It does not spin calmly. It is locked by forces far stronger than anything outside. And yet it stays. It stays because it must, because the rules do not allow escape, because chaos waits just beyond the limits. If the protons and neutrons were to drift apart, even a little, the atom would unravel. Everything built on that atom would crumble. Your body, the floor, the air, the chair, the table, the world, all of it depends on this tiny, tense center. Think about that. A single point inside an atom smaller than you can see holds together everything you touch. Not gently, not softly, by restraint, by force. The energy inside is quiet but immense. It hums in a language you cannot hear, and it has been there for billions of years, longer than the mountains, longer than the oceans, longer than most of the stars in the sky. Some of the atoms in your body were born in the hearts of exploding stars. They carried that energy here, and they remain trapped in the same tense balance. The nucleus does not move like the electrons outside it. Electrons are clouds, loose, uncertain. But the nucleus is fixed, dense, heavy. Everything bends around it. It is not alive. It does not think. It does not plan. And yet it feels alive in a strange way, not because it has life, but because it is under constant tension. It is locked in a fight it cannot end. Imagine billions of tiny balls all repelling each other, all stuck together by invisible chains, holding, straining, resisting. That is the center of every atom. And the strange part is that the atom outside this locked core seems calm. The electrons swirl and float. The atom appears gentle and stable, but inside it is tense. Hardly anyone thinks about it. Hardly anyone notices, yet everything depends on it. Every piece of matter, every object, every living thing rests on the silent struggle of the nucleus. It is a secret no one can touch, no one can feel, no one can change, and that is what makes it mysterious. Even the smallest movement in the nucleus changes things. An atom can suddenly become a different element. It can break apart. It can release energy in a flash you cannot see. It is stable only because the forces inside are perfectly balanced, not because the atom wants to be, not because the universe cares. The rules are strict, and the tension inside makes the atom alive in a way that feels impossible. You are touching countless atoms right now, each with its own nucleus, each with its own silent struggle. They do not notice you. They do not react to your awareness. They follow the rules they cannot escape. And because of them, your hand does not pass through the floor. The chair does not collapse beneath you. The air does not vanish. Everything is held together by this locked center. Even the stars you look at in the night sky rely on the same rule, the same tension, the same invisible struggle, and the universe itself is built on these tiny points of restraint. Think about that the next time you touch something. Your hand rests on a table. 1,000 billion nuclei in the wood are locked, tense, holding together what you think is solid. They do not move. They do not bend. They are trapped and held by forces invisible. And the strange truth is, even though they are trapped, they are not weak. The forces that lock them are among the strongest in existence, stronger than anything you can imagine. The atom is calm on the outside, but inside it is impossible to ignore the tension. It is a secret battle hidden in everything, and it has been happening for longer than the Earth itself. Some of the nuclei in your body have been in the same state since the birth of the universe. They have survived explosions, collisions, transformations. They have endured chaos beyond measure. And they do not change because they cannot. The electrons may swirl around freely, but the core is locked, stable by force, silent by design, waiting. Every atom you know, every object, every living creature carries this tense secret in its center. The strange part is how unnoticed it remains. You can feel the chair, the air, the table, but not the power locked in those tiny nuclei. You cannot measure it with your senses. You cannot hear it, see it, or touch it. And yet everything you trust depends on it. It is the hidden heart of matter, a secret the universe has carried for billions of years. And tonight, as you lie still, supported by countless atoms, their locked centers silently holding your world, you begin to sense something impossible. Everything is calm. Everything feels safe. And yet, beneath the calm, there is immense tension. The smallest point inside each atom holds the weight of reality, and it has been doing this quietly, endlessly, since the beginning of time. You are surrounded by it. You are resting on it. You are made of it. The nuclei do not rest. They do not move. They do not fail. And still, somehow, everything works. That is the mystery. Everything depends on something so small you cannot see, locked in tension so strong you cannot imagine. And because of it, the world feels solid, even though it is built on restraint, on force, on quiet struggle. Even your own body carries this secret. Your bones, your muscles, your cells, all resting on nuclei that have survived stars, explosions, and billions of years. They do not care about comfort. They do not seek stability. It is imposed upon them by rules invisible and unbroken. And that is why the atom feels alive, not in life, but in quiet, endless tension. And as you lie there, supported by billions of these locked centers, you can imagine the impossible weight of the universe carried silently by points smaller than your mind can picture. Everything you touch, everything you see, everything you are exists because of this quiet, tense heart. And knowing it changes the feeling of solidity. Not the reality, just your awareness. The world is no longer simply firm. It is restrained. It is tense. It is alive in a way your senses never told you. And as you think about it, the sense of mystery grows. You cannot stop it. You cannot fix it. You can only lie still and let it quietly hold you. This locked center, this tiny, dense nucleus is the secret foundation of everything. It is the reason the world exists as it does. And it will continue to hold, long after this thought fades, long after the night passes, long after you have let go completely. It is silent, immense, and impossible to ignore once you notice it. Outside the nucleus, the atom is not calm. The tiny center holds everything together, but around it, something strange floats. Electrons. They are not like the solid parts of the nucleus. They do not sit still. They do not follow simple paths. They do not have a fixed location. You cannot point to one and say, "Here it is." It will not stay there. Electrons exist as possibilities. They are more like whispers than objects. You can measure them in part, but the moment you try to see them clearly, they change. They refuse certainty. Your mind wants to place them. It wants to give them a spot in space, a shape, a path, but electrons laugh at that. Not literally, but in their own way they refuse to obey. Imagine looking for something that cannot be found. Imagine feeling its presence but never its weight. Imagine knowing it exists but not knowing where. That is what electrons are. They swirl around the nucleus, not in circles like tiny planets but in clouds of probability. They are everywhere and nowhere at the same time. You cannot see the cloud itself. You only see its effects, the way it pushes, the way it balances the nucleus, the way it defines the size of the atom, and that is strange, because everything you touch seems precise. Your hands, the floor, the air, the table, everything feels exact, but look closer, closer than your senses allow. The electrons do not make a shape you can grasp. They only suggest one. Certainty collapses here. Even the smallest action becomes unpredictable. Electrons do not obey the same rules as the larger parts of the atom. They move by chance. They move by rules that feel almost random. Yet those movements shape reality. Without them, there is no chemical bond, no water, no air, no solid surfaces, no life. And still, they refuse to be pinned down. Every moment, trillions of electrons dance around the nuclei. They never stop. They never settle, and the atom as a whole cannot be fully located. You might imagine the atom as a tiny marble, a small, solid ball. That is wrong. It is more like a cloud of possibility surrounding a dense heart. And the cloud does not obey the simple rules of your world. It spreads, it shifts, it blurs. No matter how carefully you measure, you cannot pin it in one place. You only know where it might be, and that is enough. The nucleus is heavy. It is certain. It is fixed. But the electrons, the majority of the atom's volume, refuse that certainty. Your mind struggles to understand. You want the world to be solid. You want to know where things are. But at this scale, those rules vanish. Even if you touch something, even if you feel its surface, the electrons inside it do not stay still. They do not meet. They do not belong to the space you imagine. You are touching clouds, not solid matter. And yet, your mind calls it real. Your senses insist it is solid. Because the electrons' effects are predictable enough to fool you. Your world depends on their behavior, even as they refuse to be pinned down. The atoms of your body, the chair under you, the walls around you, all contain electrons that cannot be located. They form bonds, they carry energy, they shape molecules, and they define the limits of reality. But you will never see them. You will never hold them. They refuse. Imagine a room full of shadows that define the walls. You cannot touch them. You cannot catch them. And yet, without them, the room would not exist. Electrons are like that. They are everywhere, yet nowhere. They are not particles in the way you know particles. They are suggestions, probabilities, hints of presence, and every single atom relies on them. Your certainty, the solidity of everything, depends on things that cannot be pinned down. Your mind may feel confused. It is meant to feel that way. The universe does not pause for understanding. It continues. Even now, electrons are shifting, moving, avoiding exact positions. Their rules are different, their paths impossible to predict completely. And still, they form stable atoms. They create chemistry. They create life. They create matter that behaves as if it is solid. You might feel comfort in this. You might feel unease. Both are correct, because the atom in truth is unlocatable. Its center is fixed, but its edges are a blur. Its shape is a cloud, never the marble you imagine. Your world in every moment balances on this blur, a mystery that refuses a location, a rule that cannot be touched. Even the smallest shift in an electron can change reality. A single electron moving differently could create a new molecule, a new reaction, a new life. The universe depends on these tiny, unlocatable beings, and yet they remain unseen, hidden in plain sight. Every breath you take is guided by electrons. Every heartbeat depends on them. Every movement, every thought, every sight, every sound flows through atoms whose edges cannot be located. And this knowledge changes the way you perceive reality. Not immediately, not dramatically, but quietly beneath your awareness. You begin to sense that the world you trust is more fragile than it feels, not in danger, just strange. Because what seems solid is held together by things that refuse to stay in one place. The certainty of matter is built on uncertainty. The firmness of your body, the room, the earth itself, depends on things that are impossible to pin down. Electrons cannot be seen, they cannot be touched, they cannot be fixed, and still they hold everything in place. The atom becomes unlocatable, its boundaries blur, its edges are only suggestions, its size is mostly empty space. Yet it creates the world you experience. It defines the limits of what can exist. It shapes the objects you trust. And you are made of the same unlocatable pieces, clouds of possibility wrapped around dense, locked centers. Everything that feels real is made of things that cannot be fixed. The more you notice, the stranger it becomes. The more you feel the mystery, the more you realize that the atom is not a simple building block. It is a puzzle, a secret, a strange balance of fixed centers and unlocatable clouds. It is the world beneath your senses, and it refuses to give itself completely. Every object, every surface, every movement depends on what cannot be found. The universe is unlocatable, and you in your body are part of that same mystery. And as you lie still, surrounded by billions of electrons that cannot be pinned, the world feels less certain. The edges of reality soften. The weight of matter becomes strange. Not less real, just mysterious. And this strange, quiet mystery is enough to hold your attention, enough to make the world feel bigger, enough to make the night feel alive, even while you prepare to sleep. You are resting on something you cannot see, cannot touch, cannot measure, and cannot fully understand. And yet it holds everything, always, perfectly, and unlocatable. Everything so far, the solidity, the locked centers, the unlocatable clouds, follows rules. But now the rules themselves become the story. Atoms do not move freely. They do not decide. They do not ask questions. They obey forces. Not gentle forces, not soft nudges. Forces so strict, so absolute that nothing can break them. These forces are older than the stars, older than time itself if you could measure it that way. And they do not pause for comfort, for life, for understanding. They simply act. The strong force is first. It keeps the nucleus together. Protons repel each other, yet the strong force holds them in place. It is unyielding. It does not negotiate. It does not ask. It does not care if the atom is calm or stressed. The weak force acts quietly. It governs changes, decay, transformations. It moves pieces from one place to another. It guides particles to new forms. And the atoms obey. Electromagnetism shapes motion outside the nucleus. Electrons swirl, forming clouds, creating bonds, shaping molecules. Yet even these movements are not free. They follow invisible lines and directions, unseen yet exact. Gravity whispers faintly. It barely nudges atoms. But in space, across stars and planets, it shapes the motion of countless atoms at once. Even the universe bends to it. None of these forces ask permission. None of them explain themselves. None of them pause, and the atoms obey them. Your hand, your body, the table, the air, the floor, all obey these forces every moment, without thought, without awareness, without freedom. You might feel as if you are moving on your own, as if you choose each step, each motion. But the truth is different. Every movement, every touch, every pause, every breath is guided by forces you cannot see, cannot feel, cannot resist. Even inside your body, atoms obey these laws. Your cells, your molecules, your bones, all act because the forces demand it. You think you are free, but your freedom is an illusion. This is the way the universe works. You might try to imagine breaking these rules. A proton deciding to float away, an electron ignoring its orbit, a nucleus falling apart. It cannot happen. Not naturally. Not without immense energy you cannot imagine. Everything is bound. Everything is restrained. Everything is guided by laws older than life itself. Even time seems to bend to them. Because forces control motion and decay, atoms persist in ways that feel eternal or fleeting, depending on which rule dominates. Some atoms stay unchanged for billions of years. Some decay almost instantly, but all obey the same rules. The rules never sleep. The rules never forget. They do not bend for comfort or safety. They do not care about your presence. They are absolute. And because of them, the world you feel is possible. Your body rests on the floor. Your hand presses on the table. The air moves around your skin. All of this happens because forces guide atoms perfectly, without error, without pause. Even the electrons that refuse location are shaped by these rules. Their clouds of probability form, collapse, and shift, all under the influence of forces you cannot see. The nucleus stays locked because of them. The electrons stay in their clouds because of them. Atoms form bonds, molecules form shapes, crystals grow, water flows, and life exists, all because atoms follow laws that cannot be broken. It is strange to think about. You are resting on billions of atoms, all following rules they cannot see, cannot choose, and cannot resist. You are made of obedient particles. Everything around you is made of obedient particles. And yet it appears effortless. It seems natural. It seems like the world is calm. The truth is far stranger. Every second, trillions of forces act without pause. They hold the universe together. They shape stars and planets. They bind life and matter. And the atoms do not know. They do not rebel. They do not question. Freedom disappears at this scale. There is no choice. There is only obedience. Your perception of the world as free, stable, and predictable is born from this obedience. You feel safe because the rules are strict. You feel solid because the forces never fail. You feel alive because the atoms that compose you follow these rules perfectly. But the moment you realize the truth, the calm of life feels different. Not worse. Not scary. Just larger, stranger, full of unseen power. The universe is not a playground. It is not random. It is a system of unbreakable agreements. Invisible, infinite, precise. And all matter, all life, all reality is built on that obedience. Even your thoughts, your heartbeat, your movements, follow the consequences of these forces. You appear to act freely, but the law guides everything at its most basic level. And once you see this, you can never fully return to the old sense of casual certainty. You are resting on obedience without knowing it. You are surrounded by it. You are built from it. Your body will continue to follow these laws tonight, even as you sleep, even as your mind fades, even as the world around you appears quiet. The atoms obey, the forces act, the universe continues, and nothing escapes. No particle moves without rule. No action happens without law. No freedom exists at this scale. You can feel the calm of your bed, the stability of the room, the softness of the air. But beneath that calm, the strict laws of physics govern everything. They hold the atoms, they guide the electrons, they lock the nuclei, they shape the world. And all of it obeys, always, perfectly, silently. You are part of this obedience, even as you breathe, even as you think, even as you rest. And now you begin to sense it. The universe is full of rules, rules older than life, rules stronger than imagination, rules no atom can escape. And in that knowledge, you feel both small and connected. The world is not free. It is not random. It is not chaotic. It is precise. It is unyielding. It is guided. And your mind can rest in that certainty, even as it wonders how such order can exist without awareness, without intention, without pause, because it does. And it always will. The law that no atom can escape keeps the universe in motion, keeps matter alive, keeps life possible, keeps you here, even now, even in this quiet moment. Even while your thoughts begin to fade, everything obeys. Everything follows the rules. Everything exists because of them, and nothing can escape. Not your body, not the room, not the stars, not the atoms themselves. Everything is bound by law. And knowing this, you begin to feel a strange calm, a quiet awe, a sense of presence in the unseen. The forces act, the atoms obey, the universe continues, and you are a part of it. Some atoms have always been here, not just in your body, not just in the chair or the floor, not just in the air. Some atoms have existed since before the earth formed. They have been waiting, silently, without hurry, without care for the passing years. Time moves differently for them, not slowly, not quickly, not in ways we understand. A proton in one of these atoms has existed for billions of years. It has survived the collapse of stars. It has been part of explosions that shaped galaxies. It has been forged in fire hotter than anything you can imagine. And yet now it rests inside you. It waits quietly. It does not age. It does not tire. It does not notice that you have only been here for a fraction of a second compared to it. You are temporary, a brief presence in the vastness of matter, a flicker that comes and goes. The atoms do not care. They do not hurry. They do not slow down for life. Some have waited since the universe began, long before oceans or mountains, long before the first breath of life, long before the first moment of human thought. And now they are here, inside your hand, inside your brain, inside the food you eat. You are moving through time like a visitor. The atoms are permanent. They are ancient. They are patient. Your body is alive for a short while. It moves, it grows, it decays. But the atoms that make it up continue their waiting. They have been part of stars, part of clouds of gas that drifted for eons, part of rocks smashed in collisions that no human will ever see. And now, quietly, they form you. The concept is strange. You might imagine your body as fleeting, but it is built from eternity. Every breath you take passes through molecules held together by atoms older than time. Every beat of your heart relies on these ancient pieces of matter. You feel alive, but the atoms inside you do not feel anything. They have only existed. Time has no power over them. They have seen ages rise and fall, galaxies appear and vanish, stars burn and collapse, yet they remain unchanged. And in this you begin to feel small, brief, insignificant in comparison. Your life is a momentary spark, a flicker on a timeline that stretches farther than you can imagine. Some atoms waited for you, not because they knew you would exist, not because they cared, but because waiting is all they do. The concept of waiting is different for atoms. They do not anticipate. They do not count time. They simply exist, unchanged, untouched, unhurried. And when you notice this, you realize how temporary you are. The thought is not sad, it is quiet, it is strange, it is awe-inspiring. Your body feels alive and moving. Your mind feels awake and thinking. But the atoms inside you are the same as they were billions of years ago, and they will continue to be long after you are gone. Some atoms are made of matter from stars that exploded long before humans existed. Some have been recycled through planets, oceans, and air. Some have rested in minerals untouched for eons. And now they are here forming you. Your life seems short. Your presence seems temporary. But the matter that composes you is ancient. It waits. It waits silently. It waits in your cells, in your muscles, in your bones. Even as you move, even as you breathe, it does not hurry. It does not slow. It does not age. You exist for a moment. The atoms exist forever. This quiet contrast changes the way you feel time. Minutes and hours pass. Days and years move on, but the atoms do not measure it. You may feel impatient or rushed. They do not. You may feel your body aging. They do not. And yet they carry the memory of everything. Every star, every explosion, every change, all contained quietly in their existence. Some have been part of water that fell as rain on worlds long gone. Some have been part of rocks smashed to dust in the formation of planets. Some have existed in space, moving with nothing to touch for eons. And now they are part of you. Your life is temporary. Your thoughts are temporary. Your presence is temporary. But the atoms that make you have waited, patiently, silently, perfectly. They have no beginning and no end in the way you understand. They have no concern for your fleeting existence. They simply hold on unchanged. This quiet patience is astonishing. You are alive for a short while, but the atoms are eternal. They have existed before your first thought. They will exist long after your last. And when you notice this, you feel the strange weight of time, not the weight of worry, not the weight of fear, but the weight of perspective. The atoms have patience beyond measure, and you are brief. A moment in a story they have carried for billions of years. Your hand rests on something solid. Your feet touch the floor. You breathe the air. All of it contains atoms that have waited, waiting for nothing, for no purpose, and yet forming the world you experience. Your own body is a temporary arrangement of these ancient pieces. Your mind is a brief spark. Your life is a single movement in a vast, quiet timeline. And yet it feels natural. It feels real. It feels important. The contrast between your briefness and their waiting creates a strange peace. Not a loud peace. Not a comforting one. A quiet understanding. The atoms do not hurry. They do not age, they do not care, they do not notice, but they are the foundation of everything, the foundation of you, the foundation of the room, the foundation of life. And now you sense the fleeting nature of yourself. Your thoughts, your movements, your body, all temporary arrangements of matter that has existed for eons. Some atoms have waited longer than the mountains, some longer than the oceans. Some longer than light has traveled across the stars, and you are here, a brief presence, a temporary spark, resting on patience older than memory. You cannot fully comprehend it, you cannot hold it in your mind, but you feel it, a quiet sense that time is vast, that existence is patient, that you are small. The atoms continue to wait, they have no urgency, they have no concern, they simply exist. And as you lie still, supported by billions of these waiting atoms, you begin to sense your own brevity. Your life is brief. Your thoughts are brief. Your presence is brief. But the matter that carries you, surrounds you, forms you, is ancient. It has waited. It will continue to wait. And in this quiet contrast, you feel the strange connection between eternity and the fleeting moment of now. The atoms have been here longer than anything you know. They will remain long after you are gone. And yet for this brief moment they are part of you, holding you, supporting you. waiting quietly, endlessly, without care. And in that the world feels strange, but safe, and completely alive. Even the oldest atoms cannot stay exactly the same forever. Change is quiet. It does not shout. It does not demand attention. Some atoms, after waiting for billions of years, begin to fall apart. Not all at once, not suddenly, not in a way that shocks the world. Decay is a slow decision of the universe, a choice made by no one, yet inevitable. The nucleus that once seemed locked forever can sometimes change. A proton may turn into a neutron may disappear, and the atom becomes something new. It does not notice. It does not care. The electrons continue to swirl. The nucleus remains mostly the same, but deep inside a shift has occurred. Time has acted quietly. Change has crept in, and the atom begins its transformation. You may think of decay as destruction, but it is not dramatic, it is not violent, it is gentle. The world outside continues as normal. The chair holds your weight. The air presses softly against your skin. The floor remains firm. Yet inside the tiniest particles, shifts are happening. The atom is not choosing. It does not think. It does not plan. And still it changes. Some atoms decay quickly. Others take billions of years. Some wait for conditions that will never arrive. And this creates a strange feeling for the mind. It is neither urgent nor alarming. It is quiet, inevitable, unavoidable. Even your body is a collection of atoms slowly moving toward change. Cells break down, molecules shift, energy transforms, and the atoms, patient as ever, obey. Nothing moves too fast. Nothing bursts suddenly. Everything happens in quiet increments. Decay is subtle. It whispers in every corner of existence. In rocks, in air, in stars, in the water, even in you. Your hand touches the floor. The floor is solid. It feels the same. But the atoms within it have already begun small, silent changes. Some are ready to become something else. Some have already transformed. And the floor does not falter. Everything continues. The electrons follow their clouds. The nucleus shifts imperceptibly. Energy moves from one state to another. The world seems calm, but the quiet inevitability exists. Even the atoms that have waited since the beginning are not permanent. They will change. Eventually. The nucleus itself is bound by forces that are unbreakable. Yet even it can transform in subtle ways. Decay is part of the rules, part of obedience, part of reality. Some atoms break apart and release energy. Some become radiation. Some disappear quietly, unnoticed, and the rest of the universe continues, unaware. Indifferent, time acts slowly, not suddenly, not violently. It nudges atoms toward change. The effect on the world is minimal in the moment. Yet over eons it is enormous. Rocks crumble, planets shift, stars collapse, life evolves. You are a witness to this slow, quiet process. Your body, your thoughts, your senses, all exist in a world that is slowly changing at the atomic level. Even the atoms inside you are making tiny moves toward something else. Some will decay today, some tomorrow, some long after your own time ends. The story of matter is one of patience and inevitability. Nothing resists, nothing hurries. Even when it breaks apart, it does so without intention, without drama, without urgency. And because of this, the world continues smoothly. Your hand rests on the table. Your body breathes. The air flows. The universe obeys the same laws patiently and predictably. Atoms that change do not collapse. They do not panic. They do not disturb the universe around them. They transform slowly, subtly, gently. Decay is like a long sigh in the universe, almost invisible but present, waiting, inevitable. Even life itself depends on this quiet process. Energy moves, molecules rearrange, atoms combine and recombine. And all of it is guided by forces that never pause, never forget, and never rest. The world feels stable. It appears unchanging. Yet beneath the surface, change is happening. The atoms obey the rules of decay without knowing why, without choice, without awareness, and that is strange. You live a life full of decisions, full of actions, full of change, but atoms change without deciding. They obey, they transform, and the universe continues. Some atoms in your body will be replaced in days. Others will remain for billions of years. Some will transform without warning. And the strange part is, it makes the world work. The slow decay, the patient transformation allows energy to flow, molecules to combine, life to exist. You cannot see it, you cannot feel it, but it is happening. Even as you lie there supported by matter that seems solid, the atoms around you are slowly changing. They are obeying forces. They are moving toward decay. They are participating in a story that stretches across time. Nothing is rushed. Nothing is dramatic. Everything is quiet. And yet everything is inevitable. Decay is a patient process, a gentle law, a silent force that shapes the universe without effort. The atoms wait. They change. They obey. And as you rest, you begin to feel the scale of it. The slow, inevitable motion of time acting on matter, the quiet transformation that allows the universe to continue. Nothing can escape it, not the oldest atom, not the youngest molecule, not your own body. Time moves through matter like a whisper, subtle, gentle, inevitable. Even when nothing seems to change, it does. Even when the world feels still, it moves. Even when you are at rest, the atoms within you are participating in this slow, quiet process. And in this awareness, you feel both small and connected. A brief presence in a universe that moves quietly, patiently, inevitably, through every atom, through every molecule, through every piece of matter that forms your world. The slow decision to fall apart is happening now. In the room, in your body, in the air, in every object you can see. And the world continues perfectly, calmly, silently, because atoms obey, time moves, change happens, always, quietly, inevitably. Light is more than something you see. It is more than the sun, the stars, the glow of a lamp. It is a messenger, a memory, a story carried across space and time. Atoms speak in light, not in words, not in sounds, not in shapes or signs that your eyes can fully grasp. They speak in bursts of energy, in colors, in flashes that travel across the universe. Every time an atom absorbs energy, it reacts. It may release a photon, a tiny particle of light, a single flash, a single glow, and that flash carries information. It is a record of what the atom experienced, a trace of its existence, a mark of its place in the story of the universe. Some light travels for billions of years before it reaches you. Some has seen stars explode. Some has passed through clouds of gas. Some has brushed past planets and moons. And yet, it carries the same story it held when it left the atom. When you look at a star, you are seeing light that left it long ago. You are seeing atoms speak. You are hearing a memory that traveled across space. Even if you cannot hear it in your ears, it reaches your eyes. It tells you what the universe was, what it did, what it felt. Atoms communicate silently. They do not know they are speaking. They do not know anyone is listening. They do not choose words or colors, yet the story is sent. Every color is a message. Red, blue, green, ultraviolet, infrared. Every shade tells a tale. Every photon carries the history of an atom's energy, its position, its interaction with the world around it. Even in the simplest things, light is present. A lamp in your room emits photons that have interacted with atoms in the filament. The atoms moved. They released energy. And now the light carries that event. Some light is old, older than Earth, older than mountains, older than oceans. When you see sunlight filtering through a window, You are seeing light that has already traveled across millions of miles. It is a record of atoms in the sun. It tells the story of nuclear fusion, of protons colliding, of energy escaping into space. Even in the tiniest flash, there is a universe of memory. Every atom has experienced forces, collisions, energy shifts. Every photon it releases carries that history forward. The universe becomes a library written in light, not on pages, not in ink, but in the very particles that travel faster than anything you can imagine. Some of this light has been trapped for billions of years, in dust clouds between stars, in ice deep on distant planets, waiting, carrying its story silently. And when it moves again, it continues the narrative. It is endless, it is quiet, it is precise. Atoms themselves change slowly, but light moves without hesitation. It carries the memory perfectly. It is unbroken. It is exact. When you look around, you are bathed in billions of messages. From atoms in your body, atoms in the air, atoms in distant stars. They all speak without pause. They all tell what they have been through. Every color you see is a story. Every shadow, every glow, every reflection is a word in the universe's silent conversation. You are both witness and participant. Atoms in your eyes catch photons that have traveled vast distances. Those photons enter your mind as images. They are records, memories, messages sent long before your consciousness existed. Even in darkness, light is there. Infrared, ultraviolet, cosmic rays, they move silently, unseen, carrying stories. The universe is constantly communicating, even when you are unaware. Think of starlight. Some of it began its journey before humans existed. It traveled through voids, around black holes, past exploding stars. And now it reaches your eyes. You are seeing history. You are witnessing memory that is older than life. Atoms do not know they are creating this record. They do not know that someone far away may one day observe it. They simply act according to the rules. They absorb energy. They release photons. They obey forces. And the universe keeps its message. Even the atoms in your own room speak this way. The sunlight on the table, the glow from a lamp, the reflection off a glass, all carry the memory of atoms moving, interacting, vibrating. Everything is a conversation. Everything communicates silently. The universe is not empty. It is full of stories waiting to be read. Light connects you to everything, to the past, to the stars, to the atoms that existed before you, to the atoms that will exist long after you are gone. And in this, the world feels alive. Not alive in the way you move or breathe, alive in memory, alive in history, alive in the silent language of photons. Even as you close your eyes, the story continues. Every atom around you emits light, however tiny. Every photon carries what has happened. Every color is a record of existence itself. Some light may have traveled billions of years, some only a few feet, but all carry the same truth. The universe is a message. It is written in the particles of light that atoms release, and you are part of it. You are receiving these messages constantly, even as you rest, even as you breathe, even as you prepare to sleep. The photons from atoms in your body, in your surroundings, in the distant sky, all mingle in a conversation you cannot hear. All carry memory you cannot fully comprehend. All reveal the universe silently, perfectly, endlessly. Every color you see, every shadow you notice, every faint glow in the dark is a memory of energy shifting inside an atom. Even atoms that have waited since the beginning of time speak in this way. They release light, carrying billions of years of history, silent, precise, and unbroken. And when you notice this, the world feels larger, stranger, more mysterious. Light carries memory, it carries history, it carries the story of everything that has ever happened to an atom, and you are surrounded by it. You are immersed in it. You are part of it. Even in darkness, the universe is speaking. Even when nothing moves, the atoms communicate. Even when you are still, history flows around you in light. The story of atoms is a story of memory, a story that travels faster than anything you can imagine, a story that connects you to everything, everywhere, every time. And as you lie there, bathed in invisible messages, you feel the quiet awe of being part of a universe that speaks without words, that records without paper, that remembers without thought. Every photon is a word, every color is a sentence, every ray of light is a story sent long ago, arriving now. The atoms have waited, they have decayed, they have obeyed the laws, and through it all they speak. The universe is a message, and the light carries it to you. Even as you prepare to sleep, the story continues. The memory continues. The conversation continues. Atoms speak. Light carries their memory, and you quietly are listening. Atoms do not plan. They do not think. They do not intend to create. They have no purpose, no design, no vision of the world they are building. And yet patterns emerge. Even in chaos, order forms. Atoms bump into each other. They attract. They repel. They follow rules without understanding them. Slowly, quietly, structures appear. Some atoms stick together, a few more join. Electrons share their clouds. Nuclei cluster, and something remarkable happens. The more atoms interact, the more complex the structure becomes. A crystal grows. A molecule forms, a chain stretches across space. No one told the atoms to do this. No one gave them instructions. There is no blueprint, no architect. It happens anyway. The world you see, the mountains, the rivers, the leaves on a tree, all started with this. Simple atoms colliding, bonding, and repeating actions endlessly. Order can exist without awareness. Imagine it. Tiny particles, too small to see, moving according to invisible rules, and suddenly a shape appears. Not random, not chaotic, but a pattern, something recognizable. A lattice of ice crystals, a drop of water forming a sphere, the structure of a sugar cube, the shape of a leaf, the pattern in a shell. All because atoms obey forces, attract, repel, and interact. No consciousness involved. No plan. Even your body is built this way. Atoms combine into molecules. Molecules combine into cells. Cells combine into tissues. Tissues combine into organs. Organs form systems. And suddenly, without anyone intending it, you exist. You are the product of countless tiny accidents. Collisions, bonds, reactions, and rearrangements. A vast number of unplanned events creating something ordered. It is not just in life. It is in everything. The walls around you, the water you drink, the metal in the floor, the glass of a window, all are built from atoms assembling without thought. The universe is an accidental architect. Stars form from gas and dust. Gravity pulls atoms together. Nuclear fusion begins. Energy flows. Planets emerge. Moons gather. Life eventually appears on a small blue planet, all without anyone intending it. Even now, atoms in the air are colliding. Some form ozone, some form dust. Some attach to water vapor and fall as rain. Patterns emerge from randomness. Order grows from chaos. The rules are enough. Atoms need no plan, they need only interact. Electrons share energy. Nuclei attract. Forces act. And suddenly something recognizable exists. The universe does not require meaning. Structure does not need intention. Patterns do not need understanding. Crystals grow quietly. Snowflakes fall perfectly. Rivers carve valleys. Mountains rise over eons. All because atoms follow simple rules. Even in your body this continues. Cells divide. Molecules bond. Proteins fold. Membranes form. Your heart beats. Your brain fires. You are organized. You are structured. You are alive. And it happened without your awareness. without design, without choice. It is the quiet magic of existence. Atoms follow forces. They collide, they bond, they separate, and out of this dance comes order. Your eyes see it. Your hands touch it. Your mind understands it. But the atoms themselves are unaware. They have no sense of achievement, no knowledge of the patterns they create. The world does not require meaning to function. It only requires interaction. Even mountains, made of rocks that formed from molten lava, emerged without thought. The atoms arranged themselves according to laws of physics. Pressure and temperature shaped them. Time carried them, and mountains appeared. Even galaxies are accidental architects. Billions of stars assemble in spirals or clusters. Gravity guides them. Atoms obey. And a beautiful pattern emerges across the void of space. Your body, the chair you sit on, the tree outside, the clouds above, the stars at night, all of this exists because atoms follow rules, because forces act, because energy flows, and because patterns form spontaneously. You may wonder how it can all feel intentional, how life seems designed, how crystals seem perfect, how galaxies appear beautiful. But the truth is there is no designer, only interactions, only collisions, only obedience to forces that never pause. And still, the universe organizes itself. Atoms do not care, they do not notice, they do not plan. And yet, without thought or intention, everything gains form, everything finds structure, everything grows into recognizable patterns. Your own existence is proof. You are a result of accidental assembly, of countless collisions over billions of years, of energy flowing and particles obeying laws you cannot see, of atoms that never intended to build life but did anyway. It is strange, it is mysterious, it is beautiful. The universe is a quiet artist, its medium is atoms, its canvas is space and time, its brush is invisible forces. And it paints without awareness, without purpose, without plan. Yet the results are breathtaking. Snowflakes fall in unique designs, water ripples in patterns, leaves branch in fractals, crystals shine with geometry. And your body, conscious and thinking, exists as one of the most complex structures ever formed, a creation of rules, forces, collisions, and accidental bonds. Even now, atoms continue to assemble. Molecules form in the air. Crystals grow in cold corners. Electrons shift, energy flows, and patterns emerge. And it all happens quietly, without intention, without meaning, without anyone aware of the process. The world you see, the one you trust, the one you call real, is built from accidents that obey laws. Order appears where there is no plan. Structure emerges from randomness. You are surrounded by the evidence of this accidental architecture. You feel it, see it, touch it. And the more you realize it, the more mysterious the universe becomes. No meaning is needed. No intention exists. Yet everything works. Everything assembles. Everything forms. Everything grows. And you are part of it. An outcome of the quiet, endless work of atoms obeying rules they do not understand. The accidental architect never rests, never plans, never notices. And yet it builds everything. Mountains, oceans, clouds, rivers, trees, animals, humans. All from the tiny, invisible, unthinking atoms that simply interact. And as you lie still, you are a living proof of the universe's quiet, unintentional order. Patterns exist, structures emerge, life appears, and it all happens without thought, without design, without intention. The world is ordered even though the atoms that created it never meant to create anything at all. And that is a strange, beautiful truth. Life appears quietly. It does not announce itself. It does not knock or call out. It emerges without ceremony, without applause. The same atoms that have existed since the beginning of time, the same ancient particles that have waited, decayed, obeyed, and assembled, suddenly form something different. Arrangement becomes something new, order becomes movement, structure becomes something we call life. The atoms themselves have changed nothing. They follow the same rules. They obey the same forces. They interact in the same way. Yet, through the combination of countless interactions, something extraordinary arises. A molecule folds into a shape that can store information. A chain of molecules arranges to capture energy from the sun. A cluster of molecules begins to replicate itself. And suddenly, the word alive seems appropriate. Yet it is borrowed. It is a description of a pattern, not a property of the atoms themselves. Life does not create new atoms. It does not introduce energy that was never present. It only rearranges what already exists. And in that rearrangement, the universe whispers a secret. Life is an illusion built from obedience. Life is a story written from patterns and interactions. Life is the product of forces acting on matter without awareness. A protein folds in a particular way, and suddenly it can catalyze a reaction. A cell membrane forms, and suddenly it can separate inside from outside. DNA coils, and suddenly information can be stored for generations. All from atoms that know nothing of what they are creating. All from particles that obey without understanding. Life borrows from the same rules that created mountains, rivers, and stars. It borrows patterns from crystals, from ice, from water. It borrows energy from the sun, the wind, the heat, and the pressure. And yet life seems intentional. It seems aware. It seems conscious. But the atoms have done nothing new. They have simply followed the same rules as always. Your body, your thoughts, your heartbeat are all the product of this borrowed order. A dance of molecules that looks alive. A system that moves, responds, and adapts, but only because of countless tiny obeying particles. Consider a single cell. It contains millions of molecules. Each molecule follows the rules of physics and chemistry. None has awareness. None has intention. Yet together they form an entity that eats, grows, and divides. Even the simplest life is astonishing. Yet it is built entirely from obedience and arrangement. Imagine the molecules in your blood. Hemoglobin carries oxygen. Actin and myosin contract to move muscles. Enzymes break down nutrients. Every action is a result of forces and bonds, not choice. And still, it feels alive. The universe does not need to invent life. It does not need to design intelligence. It does not need to animate atoms with awareness. Life arises because order can emerge from interaction. Structure can mimic intention. Complexity can appear where there is only obedience. Even the atoms that have waited since the dawn of time participate. They may have been part of stars, water, rocks, or dust, and now they are part of a living cell. They are part of a mind that thinks. They are part of a heart that beats. And yet they are unchanged. They are as oblivious as ever. They have done nothing different. Life is borrowed. It is an arrangement of matter that seems purposeful. It is an illusion of activity built on ancient obedience. The idea of being alive begins to feel strange. Because if life can emerge from the same particles that form mountains and rivers, then living is not a property of matter. It is an effect of arrangement. Water can flow, ice can form, a crystal can grow, all obey the laws of the universe. All create patterns that seem intentional. And life is no different. Your heart beats, your lungs breathe, your mind thinks. It all looks like awareness. It all looks like choice. But beneath it, atoms obey forces. They follow laws, they interact. And suddenly the pattern becomes something we call alive. Even death does not change this. When life ends, the atoms remain. The same particles that composed your cells continue. They move, obey, interact, and assemble in new ways. Life is only temporary, a borrowed pattern that can fade. Yet the atoms persist. They do not care about life or death. They do not notice. They simply continue. And because of this, the universe carries on. Life appears and disappears. Patterns form and dissolve. Yet the atoms are eternal, obeying, waiting, transforming. The molecules that pretend to be alive are a miracle of arrangement. They are proof that order can mimic intention. They are proof that the universe can create complexity without awareness. Even consciousness, your thoughts, your sense of self, is built on this borrowed life. It is a temporary structure of patterns, bonds, and interactions. It is fragile. It is fleeting. It is miraculous. And yet the atoms themselves have not changed. They continue to follow the same laws. They continue to obey forces. They continue to exist. Life, in its beauty and complexity, is an illusion built from obedience. It borrows motion, energy, and pattern from the same rules that govern everything else. It does not invent. It does not command. It only arranges. And in that arrangement you exist. You see, you feel, you move, you think. All from particles that obey without knowing. Life is borrowed, yet it feels real. It feels unstoppable. It feels miraculous. The molecules that pretend to be alive have no awareness. They have no intention. They do not know that they are creating you, the world, or the universe. And yet, through their obedience, they do. Even now, as you lie still, the atoms in your body, in your room, in the air, interact, obey, and arrange. Life continues quietly, perfectly, without ceremony. And the more you notice it, the more mysterious it becomes. Because living is not a property of matter. It is a property of arrangement. A borrowed illusion built from obeying atoms. And in that quiet understanding, you realize how strange and miraculous it is that you exist at all. Thoughts are not what you think they are. They do not exist as invisible clouds in your mind. They do not float freely. They are not separate from the world around you. Instead, they are motion. Tiny, invisible motion inside your brain. Atoms colliding, electrons moving, neurons firing. Every feeling, every memory, every decision, every spark of imagination is a pattern of particles moving in perfect obedience to natural laws. You think you are thinking, but really your body is moving. Energy is flowing. Molecules are shifting. The self feels solid. You feel like one continuous being, aware and alive. But the self is not a single thing. It is a collection of movements, a pattern emerging from motion. Consider a memory. You recall a sound, a face, a smell. It seems personal, intimate, permanent. Yet it exists only because molecules in your brain adjusted their positions. Electrons moved, ions flowed, connections strengthened. Nothing more. Emotions are the same. Happiness, fear, sadness, curiosity, all chemical reactions, all electrical impulses, all arrangements of particles obeying rules. Even love is motion, particles shifting, signals transmitting, reactions cascading. The self begins to feel thin, not frighteningly, not uncomfortably, just quietly, like the edges of something dissolving. You are still present, you can still see, hear, feel, think. But you begin to notice that what you call you is mostly motion, patterns of energy, nothing permanent, nothing fixed. Your brain does not know you exist. It does not recognize the self. It simply processes, it moves, it obeys forces. The consciousness you trust so much is made of particles, atoms that existed long before you were born, atoms that will exist long after you are gone. Every thought you have is a ripple in this vast field of matter. Every idea is a rearrangement of movement. Every memory is a trace of motion. Even decision-making is motion. Neurons firing, chemicals reacting. Nothing chooses in the way you imagine. Nothing decides. Only patterns move. And yet you feel aware. You feel alive. You feel like a being observing the world. But the self is thinner than you imagine. It is not a solid center. It is a constantly shifting pattern of energy and motion. a temporary arrangement of obeying atoms. You smile, you think, you plan, all made from tiny movements, obeying forces, releasing and storing energy. Even your consciousness of now is a pattern of motion. You perceive continuity. You perceive permanence. But it is fleeting. It exists only as long as the pattern persists. Your memories are stored in connections between neurons. Neurons themselves are clusters of molecules. Molecules are collections of atoms. Atoms obey forces. Energy flows, movement happens, and that is all. Your mind, with all its thoughts, emotions, and intentions, is not a separate entity. It is motion. It is chemistry. It is the rules of physics in action. Even imagination is motion. Visualizing a landscape, hearing a song, dreaming a story, all are particles moving, signals transmitting, patterns forming. There is no ghost inside the machine. No separate self floating above the atoms. Only the motion, only the obeying, only the patterns emerging. Your body feels real, your emotions feel real, your thoughts feel real, and they are, but they are made of motion, temporary arrangements of matter. Even consciousness itself has no intention. It does not plan, it does not know. It only flows as energy moves through atoms, molecules, neurons. The self becomes thinner when you see it this way, not frighteningly, not strangely, but subtly, as if reality itself has taken a deep, quiet breath. Your thoughts arise, they move through your mind, they fade, they change. They exist because the universe allows motion, because atoms obey rules, because energy flows. Even your sense of identity, the I you call yourself, is an emergent pattern of this motion. It exists, it matters, but it is not permanent, it is temporary, it is fleeting. Your consciousness is fragile, not weak, not small, but dependent entirely on matter obeying forces, on motion following rules. And yet this fragility creates clarity, because when you notice it, you see the elegance of existence. The universe does not need to plan consciousness. It only needs motion. And suddenly life appears. Every thought, every memory, every perception is a story written in motion, a ripple in the river of obeying atoms. Even your sense of self is a ripple, a pattern that exists temporarily in a vast ocean of motion. The mind seems continuous, but it is composed of millions of discrete movements. Tiny, obeying, invisible particles shifting, colliding, exchanging energy. And yet the pattern persists long enough for you to perceive reality, long enough for awareness to emerge, long enough for you to exist, to feel, to understand, even if just a little. Every decision you think you make is a result of motion tracing a path through your brain. Every emotion you feel is chemistry, obeying its laws. Every memory is stored in the positions of molecules. Everything is patterns of atoms, energy, and motion. And still it feels real. It feels personal. It feels permanent. But when you notice the source, you understand that it is temporary, thin, fragile, like smoke shaped into a figure. The self exists only as long as the motion continues, only as long as energy flows, only as long as atoms obey. And even when you lie still, even when you close your eyes, the motion persists. Your neurons fire. Your molecules vibrate. Atoms obey. Consciousness continues not because of intention, not because of plan, but because motion itself is persistent. You feel, you think, you remember, you imagine, all because atoms move, electrons shift, energy flows, patterns form. And when you notice this, the self thins, not frighteningly, not painfully, just quietly, like a candle flickering in a vast dark room. You are aware, you are conscious, you are alive. And yet beneath it you are motion, you are chemistry, you are obeying atoms. Thoughts are motion, emotions are chemistry. Consciousness is temporary patterns of matter in motion. And in this quiet understanding, you see the strange beauty of existence. You see that the universe does not need to create awareness. It only needs atoms to move, and the rest happens automatically. The self thins. The thoughts continue. The motion persists, and you lie there quietly observing it, aware that even consciousness, even life, is made of motion. Pure, obeying, endless motion. Even as you stop noticing, the world does not stop. Atoms continue their work. They do not wait for you. They do not pause when your mind quiets. They follow their rules. They obey forces that have existed since the beginning. Even when perception ends, they move. Even when thought ceases, they persist. They are patient. They are endless. Some atoms have waited billions of years. Some will wait billions more. They do not grow tired. They do not need encouragement. They are quiet and steady, obeying invisible laws. The universe continues, not for you, not for anyone, but because it is built to continue. Every atom, every molecule, every particle keeps moving, interacting, reacting. Energy flows. Collisions happen. Patterns form and dissolve. The sun continues to burn. The planets continue to orbit. The air circulates. The oceans swell and fall. Even the atoms in your body, now resting or asleep, continue their invisible dance. You may think your presence is central. You may feel that life is the most important story. But atoms existed long before you, and they will continue long after you are gone. Their waiting is quiet. It is not empty. It is full of purpose without knowing. It is full of motion without mind. It is full of order without awareness. Every star in the night sky is composed of atoms obeying their rules. They shine, they move, they fuse. They exist, regardless of anyone watching. Even galaxies, immense and distant, continue their spirals and rotations. Atoms collide, stars are born, planets form, and the universe simply carries on. Time flows through them, but time does not need to be noticed. It does not need acknowledgement. It simply exists as atoms move, combine, and separate. Even decay continues. Atoms that have waited billions of years may finally change. Some will break apart. Some will release energy. Some will quietly join others, forming new patterns. And life itself, built from these same obeying atoms, fades and grows in cycles. Cells divide. Cells die. New organisms emerge. Old ones disappear. Yet the atoms continue. They do not notice. They do not stop. Even in moments of complete stillness, when the world feels quiet and inert, the universe hums with motion. Every electron moves. Every proton and neutron exists in its place. Forces act silently, relentlessly. The rules never pause. You may sleep. You may dream. You may cease to notice. And still, the atoms continue their work. Some form molecules that will become water. Others form molecules that will become rock. Some form molecules that will be part of life, and some will simply exist in the void. The continuation does not need your attention. It does not need your understanding. It does not care about your awareness. Even your thoughts, once patterns of motion themselves, will eventually fade as atoms continue their work. Neurons stop firing in certain arrangements, but the particles themselves do not stop. The air around you circulates. Oxygen moves. Nitrogen flows. Hydrogen joins with other atoms to form water. Even the atoms that have never interacted with life continue their obedience. Even the atoms that are invisible to you march on in patterns dictated by forces. The universe does not wait for an observer. It does not need you to notice. It does not halt when perception ends. Even if every human stopped existing, even if every animal and plant vanished, the atoms would continue. Some would form clouds. Some would fall as dust. Some would join stars. Some would drift through space. Every reaction, every bond, every movement carries on, regardless of awareness. The continuation is quiet, patient, inevitable. It does not shout. It does not demand attention. It simply exists. Even decay continues. Even assembly continues. Even the silent communication through light continues. Photons travel carrying memories of atoms long gone. Energy flows. Motion persists. Even the laws themselves remain. Gravity continues to pull. Electromagnetism continues to act. Nuclear forces continue to hold nuclei together. Atoms obey. Rules are followed. Your perception is temporary. Your consciousness is temporary. Your life is temporary. But the universe does not need temporary things. It is built on the eternal motion of atoms. It thrives on quiet obedience. It continues without interruption. Some atoms may join new molecules tomorrow. Some may decay slowly over centuries. Some may travel across the cosmos for eons. None stop. None pause. Even when human history is forgotten, even when the earth erodes, even when the sun burns out, the atoms persist. The story does not require you. It does not require life. It does not need awareness. The rules are enough. The forces are enough. The motion itself is enough. Everything that has begun will continue. Everything that exists will persist, even if there is no one left to notice. Time carries the atoms forward. Energy guides them. Forces bind them. And the universe quietly moves on. Every particle in space, in planets, in oceans, in air, in rocks, in stars, they obey. They interact. They assemble. They decay. They shine. They move. And all of it happens without pause. Even the atoms that have waited since the birth of the universe remain patient. They continue. They continue to obey. They continue to exist. The sun rises and sets. Planets orbit. Stars explode. Galaxies spin. All without thought, all without awareness, all without end. Even as you stop noticing, even as your thoughts fade, even as sleep carries you away, the atoms continue. The air, the water, the rocks, the metals, the molecules in your body, the particles that make life possible, all continue their quiet obedience. And in this understanding, you see something strange and comforting. The universe does not depend on you. It does not require your attention. It does not wait for perception. It simply continues. And that continuation is perfect, quiet, patient, relentless. Atoms follow rules, energy flows. Time moves forward, and life, matter, light, and motion persist. The story has no ending. It does not pause for comprehension. It does not stop for understanding. It simply goes on. Even when you are gone, even when awareness fades, even when the self disappears, the atoms will remain. They will obey. They will interact. They will continue. The waiting continues. The quiet persists. The universe and everything in it keeps moving, keeps shaping, keeps existing. And the story never closes. It never concludes. It simply keeps going without you, without pause, without end.